Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So what happened today exactly with Bitcoin? This morning, it was around $60,000 and looked like it was going to climb. And then Bitcoin started going down, almost as low as 56,000. Now we have recovered back to 57,000. Well, let me explain. First of all, today's drop was actually a little bit of a head scratcher, I know, for most of you, because you're wondering, why is the US market doing well? You can see today NASDAQ is up 400 points, Dow is also up, S&P is up, everything's up. But why did Bitcoin go down? Right? It's a head scratcher. Well, it is and it isn't, because yesterday I already reported, unfortunately, the Department of Justice moved about 10,000 Bitcoin into Coinbase. And I tried to look today to see if there was any other big or large entity moving Bitcoin around, selling Bitcoin, and there's none. Today, actually, there's a lot of great bullish news. So I do think it's this. I do think that for whatever reason, the US government may be selling off its Bitcoin. Now, in case you're wondering, the US government still holds about $12 billion of crypto, most of that in Bitcoin. It's unsure, or I'm unsure at least, why they are doing that now. Is this politically driven? I really have no clue, but I do think that today's drop has to do with this, the onslaught of selling from our government. Right? And again, no idea why. But like I've always said, we will have scary moments like this. We will have fuddish periods like this with every single cycle. Sometimes out of the blue. Sometimes we have a disaster, a black swan event, some kind of bankruptcy, or some kind of major sell-off. And we have seen many this year. We've seen Germany, their government do it. We've seen Mt. Gox. Also, now we're starting to see a little bit more of the US government. But overall, we know that Bitcoin will move past and we will forget about this in the future, especially if you consider what's really happening behind the scenes with money, with inflation, with central banks around the world, right? People think that the dollar is backed by gold or backed by something, and the US dollar will stay strong forever, but that's simply not the case. The reason why Bitcoin was created was due to distrust in our governments, in central banks, in fiat overall. Today actually marks the 53rd anniversary that the US actually officially abandoned the gold standard. Back in the day, yes, the US dollar was backed by gold. In order to print more money, we needed to have gold, or at least a good set of reserves, right? In order to print more money. That's no longer the case. In fact, it's gotten so worse, we don't even have a debt ceiling. The US government just removed the debt ceiling altogether for now, so that they can continue to print more and more money. And if you think your money, your buying power is safe, think again. A lot of things have happened since the gold standard was abandoned. If you just start out with something simple like a can of soup, tomato soup, back in the day, about 10 cents. Now you're talking about over $1, right? Goes to show you what inflation can do. And you could see prior to 1970, can of soup has been basically the same price for 100 years. But what about something more modern? What about a car? You could see how a car, 1971 Mustang, many versions of it, that used to be, $3,000. If you adjust for inflation, it's almost 10 times more, $20,000, $30,000. And you guys know how expensive cars are these days. And what about homes? In 1970, on average, it took about 2.3, 2.4 years to save up for a house. These days, according to this, 7 years. I would argue it's even longer than that. Okay? This is the reason why we stick with Bitcoin. Even though there's volatility, even though there's scary moments. Okay? Bitcoin continues to outperform inflation because it's the greatest asset that we have, and you can't apply nonsense to it. You can't apply economic policy to it because no one controls it. It's pure. And in case you need further proof, look at this, right? An average home in 2016, about $288,000. It would have costed you 664 Bitcoin. In 2020, that was not too long ago. Average price of a house, $328,000, right? Did it really appreciate or did it go up due to inflation? But it does not matter because you only needed 45 Bitcoin to buy that house. Today, average home price went up to $435,000, right? And it only costs you about 6 Bitcoin. So it goes to show you that yes, assets like homes do go up in price, a lot of it due to inflation, but if you hold on an asset that appreciates inflation like Bitcoin, well, then you have no worry. Everything's getting cheaper versus Bitcoin, right? So this is why we continue to hold a Bitcoin. We stay strong. We DCA, and you ignore the FUD. You ignore the FUD, right? Like I said, today we actually had a lot of good news. We had the very first leverage MicroStrategy ETF come out, right? But not only that, Wall Street has a huge appetite for Bitcoin. Goldman Sachs joins Morgan Stanley in holding Bitcoin ETFs. And rumors are other banks are following. And not just in the US, across the world. These big boys, the big money, the smart money, they are loading up while, unfortunately, a lot of retail investors are selling, panicking, flooding themselves out of life-changing wealth. Right? So all you have to do is stay strong, focus on the future, and actually pay attention to what these big boys are doing. They're loading up. They know something big is coming. And we do have a lot of signs that show that, yes, Bitcoin is on its way back up and will hit a new high by the end of this year. Sometimes it doesn't seem so. But if you look at a lot of these on-chain metrics, that's exactly what it's showing you. That Bitcoin is about to go up, especially when the global liquidity is about to increase in a big way. With all the central banks cutting their interest rates, right? What is that going to do? That's going to cause liquidity to start flowing, and many of these countries are starting to print once again. So when the liquidity starts going higher, guess what? It's going to help assets like Bitcoin. So all you have to do is stay strong again and ignore the FUD. And lastly, I'm going to make this video very short. I know we're at 57,000 right now, and a lot of you guys are panicking, right? But I decided to pull my video back in March, 5 months ago. This video did very well, 100,000 views almost, right? And look at the title, Bitcoin pumps to 57,000. I encourage you guys to take a look at this video. So much encouragement, so much positivity, so much bullishness. You could see in the live chat. We're at the same mark. We're at the same mark. So you could argue we've been going sideways for 5 months, right? But back then, we were coming up and man, it was exciting. And now it seems like it's so depressing, but it's really not. We were just moving a little bit too quick, moving ahead of the curve. But we will catch up. We will get back to 73,000 and form a new high soon. So if you want to watch this video, I'll link it to the end. All right, guys. That's it for this video. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel, I'll see you guys tomorrow, usual time, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.